Back in 2008, Audi brought a pretty important vehicle for them to the United States. It's called the Q5. This is the second generation of that car. This is the 2018 Q5. And it's important because it's become the brand's volume selling vehicle. Now, we've come to Mexico to sample the latest one. We're here in Baja. Why are we in Mexico? Because this is where these cars are built now. So we're gonna sample the vehicle built in Mexico to show you why this is an important vehicle for the United States market and see where it's gonna go for the future. So what does Audi have in store for a brand new Q5? It doesn't look that new on the outside. There are the optional matrix LED headlights, which look pretty good. You can see the now familiar shoulder line that you can find in the A4, even the R8. Some of the more recent vehicles, the Q7, that shoulder line is a characteristic, styling-wise, for the family. Now, the changes are happening under the hood. The all-wheel drive system, this is one of the first offerings in the United States, if not the first one, that has the Quattro Ultra system. It's the new generation of Quattro, where it's a more seamless and intelligent all-wheel drive system. It's a predictive system rather than a reactive system. So, as you're tootling along, as you do in a Q5, it's thinking 500 milliseconds ahead, and it only needs 250 milliseconds to respond to changing conditions. It will throw torque rearward as needed through various coupling discs and clutches and all kinds of other engineering terms that I kind of understood when the German engineer was sitting next to me and very kindly explaining it all. The rest of the car is pretty familiar. You now can get Virtual Cockpit, which is great, and it's going to be in all Audis, so expect it to filter into any updated model like this 2018 Q5. Under the hood, we have a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. Makes around 252 horse, something like 273 torque, and here it's paired with a 7-speed dual-clutch gearbox. Other markets will get a diesel. They'll get a 6-speed manual is actually offered on a base diesel front-wheel drive version that we'll never see, and the take rate even for the rest of the world is low. Other countries also get an 8-speed Tiptronic, but our 7-speed DSG is pretty darn good. The seats are comfortable, visibility is good, it's a sharp-looking machine. It's Audi's volume seller for a reason. And now they've just made it that much better. It's got the sharpened up trapezoidal grille. There's some great optional wheels. There's a wonderful color that I never knew existed. If you are shopping for an Audi Q5, look up Azores Green. It looks fantastic in person. Hopefully it jumps off the page and inspires you to buy it, because we need more colorful Audis out there. And this isn't a bright in-your-face green. It's a very good muted green. I expect to see a lot of these in New England, not so much in California. The NVH is solid, the ride quality is solid, you've got drive select here. One thing we don't get in the States that's kind of a bummer now that I've seen what the Europeans get, because this is the global launch, so I'm sharing cars with Parisians and Germans and Japanese people, and they have their spec cars and we have our spec cars. I'm driving a US spec car right now. The rest of the world gets adaptive air suspension. So you can raise and lower this thing. Now we can get adaptive dampers, but we don't get to change the ride height. On the upcoming SQ5, you will be able to do that, but not yet. And that will get the 3-liter turbo, that'll get the better motor. That'll be the fun one. But for now, the standard one that everybody gets to drive, this is pretty good. We have no idea what it's gonna cost. You will never spend more than 60 on one, because if you did, you're a crazy person. A really expensive one will run you, into the 50s, but you get the middle of the road, maybe opt up for the Bang & Olufsen sound system. Virtual Cockpit is pretty nice. Those LEDs look pretty sharp. So there are a few ways to jump the price up, but we don't know what they are fully yet in terms of actual cost. Now, the reason Audi has brought us down here to Mexico to sample this is because their new factory is going online, and the only thing it's building is Q5s. That's how important this car is to Audi. They're going to sell a ton of these. They already do. And now they're building them in Mexico. So your next Q5 will come from just south of the border. The new car is a little bit longer, but it's the same width and height. There's a little bit more leg room and knee room and shoulder room in the back. You can slide the seats forward and back, and you can adjust the rear portion to get kind of comfy back there. It's a smaller crossover, but it does a good job of allowing you to be comfortable in the back seat, which is surprising in a vehicle like this size. The thing I find interesting about the Q5 is it was the very first crossover I ever drove where I thought, maybe crossovers aren't the worst vehicles on the planet. I love wagons. I want to see more wagons out there. Crossovers have effectively killed the wagon in the United States, but the Q5 was the first one that showed me maybe these can drive all right. And the trend continues here. Now, it's not, some amazing steering rack. It's an e-pass system. It adjusts with the drive select system, so you can adjust it a little bit. The SQ5, like I said, will be the one I want to drive eventually. Audi has mentioned that they're thinking about RSing all their vehicles. I just don't see them doing an RS Q5. If they did, that'd be great. Maybe surprise us and throw the TTRS motor in there. Don't ever hold your breath for that, because it's most likely not happening. It is a rumor I'd like to start, though, right now. Everybody start tweeting about it, and we'll try to get that out there. But until then, the new Q5, which doesn't look drastically different, is good. It's very good. It's a fine place to spend your money. The SQ5 would be the one I buy, but this one is pretty darn good. Do I wish it was an A4 wagon that I was in right now? Of course I do. Am I happy that the Q5 exists and continues to get better? Sure. This is one of the first offerings in the United States, if not the first one. I didn't pay that much attention during the press conference. That has the Quattro Ultra system. I have to wait so I don't get creamed on a Mexican highway. I could do a Rugged Ridge style joke here, but I'm not going to play that game this time. I've learned my lesson.